there has been the biggest buyout ever in disc golf history that we need to talk about. And let me tell you why I think it might not be a good thing. Alright, so as of today, Jomez Pro has been acquired by the Disc Golf Pro Tour. And there are so many potential good things, so many potential bad things, so many weird circumstances that led up to this moment. It was becoming a little bit inevitable that something had to change with Jomez, seeing as how so much more engaging and interesting things are going on with live coverage. You've had chase card wins almost every tournament this year. You have so much more going on than just lead card. And of course, Jomez does cover other stuff like their chase card checkup, but there's a lot going on that Jomez is just not capitalizing on because they can't with their current format. And not only that, but they have 20 full-time employees, and they saw a drastic downturn in their Patreon numbers and overall sales with merchandise and the product as a whole. So while they probably could have sold for 10 to 20 million last year, I do not foresee that actually happening. I think they probably got bought out for 5 to 10 million, which is still a decent number, and I'm sure Jonathan and the team is getting paid out relatively well, but it is a lot less than what it could have been last year. So as mentioned in the Ultiworld podcast, where Jonathan and Jeff Spring told the specifics about the deal as much as they could, which was still not that much, they mentioned that Jomez will remain intact as a whole. The product will not change. All the Patreon members will receive the same benefits as before, and they will be adding a lot more shows to the Patreon paywall, as well as adding DGN and discounts. And Jeff Spring was very excited about this giveaway that you get like an all expense paid trip to Worlds, which is cool, I guess, but who really cares? But the more important thing here is that all the money going to that Patreon will be funneled to the Disc Golf Pro Tour. So right now, there is no little guy in the sport besides maybe GK Pro, Gatekeeper, and Ace Run Productions. It is a huge centralized business under the Disc Golf Pro Tour. So that would mean that your money to the Patreon for Jomez will essentially be going to the Pro Tour, and it will be arguably a lot less creatively focused because it is governed by this larger body. But Jeff Spring did mention that he will try to focus on keeping Jomez the same product that it was before. But to me, it is just a matter of time before that slowly changes into being paywalled up and not just Patreon exclusives, but maybe Jomez as a whole will be paywalled for next day coverage and might have to postpone free coverage for a week delayed. I see that as a very real possibility. So while this does seem kind of bad, kind of meh, there is a lot of good outcomes of this. You certainly had the potential for Jomez to just totally go under, because they were getting a lot less income, they had a lot more employees that they had to employ, and they just were not sustainable in their current trajectory. This is incredibly apparent in the fact that they may have never actually paid the $250,000 to the Pro Tour, even though they had an agreement earlier on in the season. So what does this mean for live coverage? I think there are a lot of positives here. I don't think cameras will really be exchanged much because the cameras that Jomez uses are perfected for raw footage, and they are incredibly high file sizes and just really can't be compressed into live coverage. So I think those will remain just Jomez cameras, but I think the much more likely scenario is that editors will be exchanged between Disc Golf Pro Tour and Jomez. So we will finally get to see the live coverage look a lot more premiere. We'll get to see those flyovers that Jomez does that looks so much better than like the pixelated garbage that is currently on live coverage. And we might get to see some big sexy commentary on live, which I would be ecstatic to see. And we definitely have to talk about what will become of next day coverage for all the companies that aren't Jomez. I think there is a world where GK Pro, Ace Run, Gatekeeper, Central Coast still remains to do coverage for next day, but there is a certain possibility for them to just totally not exist anymore, because if DGPT has the Jomez cameras, they have a huge staff to record all the shots, then what really do they need these other channels for? It lessens the Pro Tour's viewership. It already is not getting a whole lot of viewership at the moment, so I think if they consolidated that to be on Jomez or to be on the Disc Golf Pro Tour channel, then there will be a lot more awareness of chase card, third card, all these things that are incredibly interesting. If there's like a hot round from Simon and third card that you don't really get to see if it's on Ace Run or GK because nobody's really watching that. So while it would be sad for those teams, I also think there is a world where those editors and filmers also get acquired by the Disc Golf Pro Tour, but it'll just be a matter of time to see if they actually need that. But I think it is pretty safe to say that if you currently are a DGN subscriber, probably only good things will happen. But if you are in that category, which so many people are, of just wanting to watch free coverage on Jomez next day, that might not be a possibility, because just because it exists at the moment does not mean that the Pro Tour will decide it is a lot more worthwhile to make it a paywall. And it really is kind of a bummer that the little guys, aka Jomez and Jonathan, were in this seat of power where they had so much better products, so much better PR as a whole, weren't able to financially secure their business, so they were forced to be acquired. It is a bit of a bummer, but that is just the world we live in. The COVID boom was not to last forever, and there is obviously some downsides that come with that. So this is major news. I would love to hear what you guys think. I am sure there are a lot of hot takes. Also, I forgot to mention FPO coverage will still remain on Jomez, and according to Jeff Spring, they will be covering the entirety of the European Open, which is also great news. So let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. Wild Runs signing out. Peace.